In this video, we're going to be going over how to set up Gradebook 2. In Sakai, if you don't already have Gradebook 2 enabled, you can do that easily if you go to Site Info and then to Edit Tools. There is Gradebook and Gradebook 2. They are similar, but in this particular video, I'm going to look at Gradebook 2. So simply put a check next to Gradebook 2 and scroll to the bottom and hit continue and then hit finish, and it will usually show up at the bottom if you hadn't already added it before. So after that, click on Gradebook 2. I find the easiest way to set up a gradebook is to use weighted categories. If you know you're going to have exactly 100 points, you can do it that way, but I find it's hard to grade items if an item is only like 10 points or 20 points. I think it's much easier to grade on a 100-point scale and then just weight it. So I made a sample syllabus real quick so I can show you the different elements of Sakai and how they integrate into the grade book. Each one is a little bit different. So my syllabus example has quizzes are worth 10%, forums 10%, a paper that's 20, midterm and final each 25, and a participation grade of 10%. So if I come back here, the first thing I need to do is set this up for weighted categories. So in this main gradebook item here, I'm going to double click on that, and it's going to pop up the options on the right hand side. You could rename it if you want, but right here where it says no categories, I'm going to do weighted categories. Okay, I'm going to grade using points, however, so each item will be worth 100 points in this particular instance. And I like to only show released items to students and not course grades, because this freaks them out sometimes. If they see that so far they have a 0 in class, some of them get anxious, so I just show them the released items and hit save. And you'll notice that you have a 0 of 100 and it says it's not correctly weighted. That's okay because we haven't added any categories yet, but I like this feature because it lets you know that when you have set up everything correctly. So let's go ahead and set up the categories. So I'm going to look back here. So the first one is quizzes. They're worth 10% of the grade. So I'm going to go up here to File, New Category, and it's quizzes. And this is 10% of the grade. And there's some other options on here. You can treat this entire category as extra credit if you want. You can weight the items equally that are under there, and you can also weight items by points. I'm just going to leave this all blank for now. We can look back at those, but I just want to let you know there are some different options if you want to do some fancier calculations. Alright, so that's the first one, and I'm just going to keep going. New category, and next one's forums, worth 10%. And then I have paper 20. And midterm, 5%. You can see it's adding it up here as we're doing this. Final is 25%. And participation is going to be 10%. And let's see what that does. Okay, so now the percent of the grade is very happy, except that we don't have any items. These are just like empty folders. These are just the categories, but next we have to create the items. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom and go up because it's going to get more complicated as we get into the ones at the top. So for participation, let's just have one grade for that, right? It's a good way to be able to adjust the scores at the end. So under File, this time we're going to do New Item, and it's called Participation. And the category is going to be also participation. Then it's going to ask for a percent of that category. It's going to be 100% of that category. We're just going to have one thing under there. Default is 100 points, which is perfect. And we're going to include this in grade. I'm going to go ahead and release the scores. Now you can come in and release scores if you want to like grade a bunch of stuff, you don't want people to see their scores, you know, one by one as you're doing that, you can control that there, but I go ahead and release them so I don't have to remember to do that. So now my participation has an item, and this category is 100%. So the next one is the final exam, and let's pretend that this is an in-class final, and sort of it's going to be the same thing. Final exam, 100% of that category, and I'm going to release the scores and hit add. Okay, so the midterm, let's say that there's two parts to the midterm. Let's say that there's maybe a presentation and also an exam. We'll put 2 items under this one just to mix it up a little bit. So we're going to have presentation, and this is going to be under the midterm. Now we have to figure out what percent of this category. It could be half, it could be 50%, or it could be a different one. Let's just say 30% of the midterm grade is this presentation. Go ahead and release the scores on that and hit add. All right, and you can see that it's still not happy, it's red because we only did 30%. So you have to do a new item, and this is the exam itself under the midterm, and it's going to be 70% of that category. Okay, so the midterm consists of 2 items, and you can see it adjusts for the percent total of the total grade. So the presentation is 30% of this category, but it's 7.5% of the total grade. So you can see how nice this is. When you adjust the way you want it, it automatically adjusts. Okay, now for the paper, I think that most of you, if you're going to collect papers, you do that through one of the assignments tools. So I need to find that tool, which is right above it. So assignments 2 here. Okay, I had some stuff already in here, but let's add another one. Okay, this is the paper. We can type some instructions there later if we want. Okay, we could set some deadlines. I think most of you know how to use the assignments tool. So right here it says grading. This item is not graded, or this assignment is graded and associated with gradebook item. We don't have one yet. We could have made one and linked to it, or we can just create a new one here. So this is the paper. It's going to be worth 100 points. It's not extra credit, and the category is paper. We're going to release this and include it in the grade calculations. Hit add item. We're definitely going to use Turnitin on that, right? And hit save. Okay, so we can see our paper is here at the bottom. This little red thing means that Turnitin's turned on. So if we go back to our grade book now, we will see that that paper automatically came in. Okay, now the only thing that it didn't assign is the percent of the category. So I do need to come back in and make that 100% of this category. We could have more than one paper, right? Some courses have 3-4 papers, and they could in total be worth 20%, then each one of them could be worth an equal amount. You can grade those equally, or you can assign a percent. It's really up to you. All right, so let's hit save. All right, so now that one's happy. The next one is the forums. Now for the forums, they're a little bit different. You need to create the categories first and then link them to the forums. Okay, so we're going to do a new item, and this is going to be Forum 1. You could name it too. And this is going to go under Forums, and we're going to release the scores. Now for these, I think that I'm going to go to this category, and I'm going to say weight items equally. All right, because sometimes with the forums you end up with an odd amount, like 7 forums. So instead of trying to figure out the percent on those, we're going to say however many forums there are, we're going to weight those equally. Okay. And I'm going to add a couple more. 2 goes under forums. Release those scores. I'll add 3 of them. Okay, so there's 3 forums there, and we didn't have to do all that math because we decided to weight those equally. So then I go down to forums. Okay, and I do a new topic, Forum 1, add what you need them to post on. And right here it says gradebook item. This is going to be Forum 1, and I'm going to hit save. So I would just do this for the next two. Scroll down. This is going to go with Forum 2. And one more. Okay, so these are all linked to the gradebook, so the forums are all set up. So the last one we're going to look at are the quizzes. They are the most complicated to bring into the gradebook. I don't know why, but they are. So if you've copied a site and you have quizzes that were already in here, you're going to have to delete them. So you shouldn't have anything under quizzes when you're getting started with a new semester. So let's go to tests and quizzes. We have to send these to the gradebook. Okay, so here are my working copies, the published copies. There's none of the quizzes are in here. It's just a different kind of quiz. So for this first one, I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to double check the dates, and then I'm going to go to grading and feedback. Now, there's one caveat on here, okay? And if you send grades to the gradebook, right, have like a multiple choice test or something, and you want them to automatically be sent, they will always send grades to the gradebook, even if you have said the feedback isn't going to be displayed until a certain date, okay? So just keep that in mind, that even if you have chosen a specific date for feedback, that they will always see their grades in the gradebook unless you have changed some of the settings on that. I know it's confusing. If you want help with that, just let me know. So I'm going to save settings and publish. I'm going to publish that quiz, and I'm just going to do the settings on this real quick. Just get these three. Okay, grades are sent to the gradebook. Good. Save settings and publish. Retract date is not correct. Okay. Problem. Okay, that's 2. And we'll just do one more real quick. So check the settings on this. Change these dates a little bit so that it's happy, so it doesn't occur in the past. And grading and feedback. This one wasn't checked. We want to make sure the grades are sent to the gradebook. And save settings and publish. Publish. Okay, so these 3 quizzes are now published, and they should show up in the gradebook. Okay, so I know they're not there where they're supposed to be because they come in under unassigned. Okay, quizzes come in to the gradebook on their own, but they don't. There's not an option to associate it with a category. So you have to double click on each of the quiz items and assign it to a category. Now this again is asking for the % of category. I'm going to include this in the grade. This is the release scores. So if you don't want to release the scores, you can uncheck this and we can see what that looks like. And on the quizzes, I'm going to double click this and say weight items equally for these quizzes. Okay, now you can see right away this quiz 1 is not bold and blue, which means that we've chosen different settings. And the reason it's not bold and blue is because we decided not to release the scores on this. They'll come in, but until we release them, the students can't see it. Okay? So some people like to do it that way. It's really up to you, and if you think the students might be able to cheat if they see those scores. Okay, so I'm going to include it in the grade but not release it. I'll just do that for all 3 of these quizzes. Okay, quiz 3 will go under quizzes. I'm going to include that in the grade. You can see it's italic because it wasn't included in the grade. So every time an item looks different besides bold and blue, that means you have different options checked. Okay, so now we're done. We have 100%. There's no red error messages at the top telling us it's unbalanced or anything. So we have quizzes, but we're going to release those scores later, and the rest of them are already released. So that's how you can set up a gradebook with the weighted categories and the items underneath set up in a few different ways to make it the way that you want it. If you have any questions or if you want me to set up your gradebook for you, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know.